first battle that we examine is Guadalcanal.
Nothing prepares you for the moment that they say action, and the jungle at night lights up. The noise is actually thunderous, and the flashes of light are blinding.
The night battle in Guadalcanal was the night that John Barcelone and just a few hundred Marines were going up against an onslaught of thousands of Japanese who were going to be crossing into their encampment.
Jump! Jump left, going out!
We do a massive amount of research so that we can try and get at the truth.
We really went through every inch of that battle and everything that was written about it or known about it and tried to make that as authentic as possible. And the shooting of it was rather intense, to say the least.
Action!
In doing fights like this, you don't want to do the TV version. You want to make it, as every part of this project is, as authentic as possible.
JP, cover me.
John, wait, what are you doing? John, what are you doing?
With all the research that they had done, they pretty much had it down to exactly how it happened. But then to actually be shooting it and to be in the middle of it, there were some moments when you could almost feel the presence of these men there with you. It was pretty, you know, it was pretty intense.
Peleliu, the battle that we're filming right here, was one of the most brutal and misunderstood battles of the Pacific War.
Here we go, boys!
Peleliu is a battle that's so key to what our vision of the Pacific is that it took 3 episodes for us in order to tell it.
We're out here today on the ocean shooting Amtraks, which would have troops and guns on them, coming off to do the attack on the beach.
Load and lock, gentlemen!
Now, the Colossus that you're seeing in the background is actually a working barge, and onto the barge we built the partial back end of an LST. Because we were able to find this barge that had the ramp in the back of it, we can actually have the Amtraks driving out, going into the water, you get all the natural sounds, and we're shooting inside them, so you see the troops reacting the way they really would. So it's going to lend a tremendous sense of reality to what we're doing, which is really what we're trying to do here, is make something that is real and accurate to what the true war in the Pacific was as we can.
Go, go, go! Move up!
This is our Peleliu Beach set, which is up in far north Queensland at a location called Rocky Point. This end of our Peleliu Beach landing is where Lecky comes ashore in his Amtrak, and Lecky has to land on a very heavily coralled area of beach, which is accurate to history.
You gotta get off of me! Lecky!
The other end of the beach is what we call the sledge end of the beach, which is much, much sandier, much less coral, in fact.
What I've wanted to do with Sledge's Landing is to give you about 3 or 4 minutes of actual time that he experiences on that beach, knowing that the battle was going on before he landed and will rage on for hours after he's passed from the beach on into the airfield, so that the audience can identify with his experience and share the fright.
Let's, goddammit, you gotta get your ass out of that hole right now! Move it!
We're trying to prepare this stretch of land for Peleliu, the beach of Peleliu, which is one of the worst engagements which Marines had to face in their Pacific campaign.
The beach that we're actually filming on is very sandy, so we have to build all our coral and dress that into the location as well. Also, you can see that we have a fortified bunker on the Lecky end of the beach, which is angled to strafe the beach as the soldiers come ashore.
The only way to stop this Jap artillery is to get into those hills. And the only way into those hills is across this airfield. When we move, do not stop until we get across. You got it? Aye, skipper.
This is a recreation of the airfield at Peleliu that the Americans came across after they'd come up through the scrub from the beach. These are recreations of buildings that were actually there. We have the airstrip, we have the power station, the administration block, air raid shelters, some bombed out timber buildings.
Stop down! Move on! Do not stop!
We've got decorators who are researching different ways of making craters and how to make them, dress them in and make them look real.
If you're going to draw a pencil sketch of what life in Hades is like, I think you could do it from a photograph of the Battle of Peleliu.
Go on, lad! Hey, go on, lad!
The site where John Basilone voluntarily returned to combat.
Even when he received the Medal of Honor, he never looked at himself as above his men. Right. So much so that he demanded to go back and fight when he didn't have to.
You tell that tank to follow me! Aye, aye! Go!
When I was first told that I'd be shooting the Battle of Iwo Jima on the side of a mountain inland at the Yuyangs National Park in Melbourne, I said to myself, how are we going to do that? But they carved off the side of a mountain. They brought in, I was told, $1 million worth of volcanic ash and basically set up the exact replication of the mountain with respect to the various tiers of the volcanic ash. And then, of course, the larger shots of ships and so forth was all something that was done visual effects-wise and post-effects. But the majority of the shots worked without having to touch them. The smoke and the intensity of all the fire and all the things that are going on, you really felt like you were there. I'm more proud of the Iwo Jima battle than anything I've ever been involved in.
Action! Turn it on!
You know, if you were going to take the twin campaigns for the island of Iwo Jima and the island of Okinawa, you could probably say those were the absolute worst of the entire war.
Company, cease fire!
And not only the horror of actually being under fire, but everything else about that island was just absolutely miserable.
The Battle of Okinawa presented a lot of challenges for the production because of the terrible conditions that the Marines fought under.
Spread out! Spread to the left!
The Okinawan landscape was something that we had to research very carefully. Everything from the architecture through the color of the soil, the kind of rock